Weirdest Nature Facts, Parts 1 through 25. Villagers along the Niger River were losing cows and people at such an alarming rate that they had to call in the National Army. The culprit ended up being a 22-foot-long, 2,500-pound monster crocodile. If you were to swim near a pod of narwhals and happen to hear one whistle, it might be the last thing that you ever heard. The sounds that narwhals make are so loud that they're said to be deafening to humans. These are what the muscles look like on a fully grown male Siberian tiger. These are what the vestigial limbs of a beluga whale look like. When sailors first explored the Arctic waters, they understandably mistook beluga whales for real-life mermaids. The great patoo is an incredibly rare tree-dwelling bird from tropical America. The bird is known for its creepy nocturnal cries as well as the fact that it looks like an alien. Morbid Facts, Part 114. In 1964, the FBI sent Martin Luther King Jr. an anonymous letter along with a cassette tape. The letter claimed that the cassette had recorded evidence of King committing illegal acts towards women. The letter also clearly implied that suicide would be the most suitable course of action for Dr. King. During World War II, Allied forces accidentally sunk a ship carrying concentration camp survivors, killing about 5,000 of them. After learning that her husband was unable to have kids, a woman from Prague contemplated both murder and suicide. She eventually decided on suicide and jumped from her third-story balcony. However, she landed on her husband, who just so happened to be standing in the street below her. He died, but since he cushioned her fall, she survived. Weird History Facts, Part 2. Hidden behind Mount Rushmore is a secret vault that holds important information about the United States and its history. The room is not accessible to the public, but is otherwise left as a record for people thousands of years from now who may wonder how and why Mount Rushmore was carved. Many believe that the vault stores classified documents on suspicious topics such as Area 51. This is a photo from 1955 of a woman being ticketed for wearing a bikini on a public beach in Italy. Dated to 1504, this carved ostrich egg is the oldest known depiction of the New World. The globe shows North America as an unnamed group of scattered islands. There are also depictions of ships, monsters, and 71 named places. It even contains the sentence Hic sunt dracones, which translates to Here lies dragons. Morbidly Wholesome, Part 3. In 1935, North Carolina, a pregnant Alton Jordan fell into a well and gave birth to a healthy baby boy named Frank. The infant remained underwater for 45 minutes without breathing until both were safely rescued. A Pakistani serial killer was sentenced to be strangled in front of the victims' families, dismembered in 100 pieces, and then burned in acid. The same way he killed over 100 teenage boys. Olympic runner Betty Robinson was involved in a plane crash in 1931 and was wrongfully declared dead upon first being discovered. She spent 7 months in a coma, and it took her 2 years to learn how to walk again. But in 1936, she rejoined the U.S. Olympic relay team and took home the gold medal. Morbid Facts, Part 122. This is a photo of Otto Warmbier begging for mercy while on trial for stealing a propaganda poster in North Korea. He returned to the US with irreversible brain damage and died 6 years later. This is the crevice where Aaron Ralston cut off his own arm to free himself after being trapped by a massive boulder. He did it using nothing but a dull pocket knife, and the movie 127 Hours is based on his triumph. During a 1998 soccer match in the Republic of Congo, a lightning bolt struck one of the goal pitches. It killed all 11 members of the home team, who were all wearing metal spikes. The other team was left completely unscathed, for they had all been wearing rubber cleats. As this year finally draws to a close, let's take a look at some of the craziest discoveries of 2020. An untouched food shop was recently uncovered in the ruins of Pompeii. Traces of pork, fish, beef, and snails were even found in some of the containers. Last March, the Pentagon confirmed that UFOs are real, and nobody seemed to care. A new geoglyph of a cat was discovered in the Nazca Desert, and it appears to be the oldest one in the region. The 2,000-year-old artwork was overlooked for so long because the lines were badly faded over the years. An ancient Roman mosaic floor was discovered under a vineyard in northern Italy after decades of searching for it. And finally, a massive canvas of tens of thousands of Ice Age drawings of extinct animals was found in the Amazon rainforest. The find shows how little we know about the Amazon, and that there are still many great discoveries to be made. Here are some disturbing facts that you probably didn't know about the Titanic. The day after the Titanic sank, various newspapers reported that the ship hit an iceberg, but no lives were lost. It wasn't long before they realized what terrible mistakes they had made. Just like in the movie, a group of musicians actually did continue playing as the ship went down. They could have chosen to board a lifeboat, but instead decided to calm the other passengers with their music. The chief baker on the ship, Charles Joffin, survived in the icy waters for 2 hours before he was rescued. He claimed he didn't feel cold because of all the whiskey he drank that night. 16-year-old survivor Catherine Gilnag didn't realize that it was a serious situation until she reached New York. She thought that disembarking in lifeboats and being picked up by another ship was all just part of the journey. Morbidly Wholesome, Part 4. Back in 1922, children suffering from diabetic ketoacidosis were kept in large wards. Grieving family members would visit their comatose children and sit by their beds, waiting for their inevitable deaths. But one day, 3 scientists walked into one of these wards and began injecting the children with a new purified extract called insulin. Before they had reached the last comatose patient, the first few that they injected started waking up, and a room of death turned into a place of joy. After surviving a fire, Taka the Shiba Inu is now a therapy dog for burn victims. In 2010, 7-year-old Stella Bernston drowned in some icy water in Sweden. Her body was found 4 hours later by a rescue helicopter and she was taken to the nearest hospital. Despite her body being only 13 degrees Celsius, doctors managed to save Stella by slowly warming her. Morbid Facts, Part 123. When Ben Franklin's London home was renovated in 1998, 15 human bodies, including 6 children, were discovered in the basement. Archaeologists agree that they were buried at the same time Franklin had been living in the home. While police initially thought it was the work of a serial killer, the bodies were likely stolen by his friend William Hewson so that he could study anatomy. When Joseph Stalin was dying, his private physician was not available. This is because he was already being tortured in the KGB headquarters for suggesting that Stalin get more bed rest. A Thai woman once accidentally slipped on mud, grabbed a naked live wire, and was electrocuted to death. After the funeral, her sister was showing her neighbors how the accident happened. Suddenly, she herself slipped, grabbed the same live wire, and was also electrocuted to death. Weird War Facts, Part 22. Lieutenant Colonel Jack Churchill held 42 Nazi soldiers hostage while wielding a sword during a 1942 raid in occupied Norway. Nicknamed Mad Jack, he also had the only confirmed kill of a Nazi while using a longbow. During World War II, Dr. Eugene Lazowski saved the lives of over 8,000 Jews in the town of Rozvadov. He managed to fake a typhus epidemic that prevented the Nazis from entering the town. Several indigenous tribes on Pacific Islands thought that cargo dropped for U.S. soldiers during World War II were gifts from the gods. Once American soldiers left, many of these islanders built ceremonial planes and airstrips so that God would drop them more cargo. They're known as cargo cults, and many of them are still active today. Morbid Facts, Part 115. This photo was taken on the morning of April 15th, 1912, just a few miles south of where the Titanic went down. The steward who took the photo had not yet heard about the sinking of the Titanic. What caught his attention was the smear of red paint across the base of the iceberg, indicating that it had collided with a ship. Little did he know there were about 1,500 dead bodies in the depths below him. In 1962, a Cuban boxer named Benny Paret made fun of his opponent Emil Griffith for being a homosexual. Griffith ended up beating Paret so badly that he fell into a coma and died 10 days after the fight. In 2007, a woman woke up in the middle of a surgery where doctors were removing one of her eyes. She was aware of everything going on for hours but couldn't tell the doctors to stop. She says the experience was so horrific that she thought she had died and gone to hell. Weird Nature Facts, Part 24. Stepan the brown bear was found weak and alone in the woods when he was just 3 months old. But a Russian couple nursed him back to health, and now 25 years later, he still lives with them in their Moscow home. The couple says the 7-foot-tall bear loves people and has never shown signs of aggression. Temperatures get so cold in the winters in Finland that the frost and snow on the trees can make the landscape look like another planet. Both tanks in this photo are filled with water from the same source, but the tank on the right has oysters in it. A single adult oyster can filter as much as 50 gallons of water per day. Researchers have found that cockroach milk can be 4 times as nutritious as cow's milk. They claim that it's a superfood that can act as a fantastic supplement for protein. Scientists believe that it can help in feeding our growing population in the future. Morbidly Wholesome, Part 8. A flight attendant named Sheila Frederick noticed a terrified girl who was accompanied by an older man on a flight. Sheila discreetly told the girl to go to the bathroom, where she left a note asking if she was okay. The girl went to the bathroom and wrote, "I need help" on the note. The police were waiting when the plane landed, and the girl was saved from a human trafficker. This is a photo of a police canine being saluted by officers before entering the vet to be put down. This mother horse lost her baby while in labor. 2 days later, she was given a foal who had lost her mother, and this was the photo taken after they were introduced. A 67-year-old named Dorothy Fletcher once had a heart attack while on a flight. When a stewardess asked if there was a doctor on the flight, 15 people stood up. They happened to be on their way to a cardiology conference, and the woman was saved. Morbid Facts, Part 116. As horrible as the Holocaust was, one man truly stood out as one of the most evil of all Nazis involved. Dr. Joseph Mengele was tasked with conducting genetic research on human subjects at Auschwitz concentration camp. His work focused primarily on twins, with very little regard for the safety or suffering of his patients. Some of his horrific experiments included removing organs without anesthesia, injecting toxic dye into eyeballs, and even sewing twins together at the skin. Most of his patients ended up dying after these operations, but those who didn't often wish they had. What's perhaps most disturbing is that after the Holocaust, Dr. Mengele escaped to South America, where many say he continued his brutal experiments in a less organized manner. He lived for more than 30 years after the end of the war and died on a beach in Brazil. Morbid Facts, Part 124. A teen boy injected himself with mercury at least 3 times while attempting to convert his bones into metal after watching X-Men Origins Wolverine. He was also intentionally bitten by spiders multiple times so that he could become Spider-Man. This endangered baby dolphin died shortly after this photo was taken because swimmers were passing it around for selfies. A man once threw a mouse into a pile of burning leaves. The mouse then ran into the man's home while still on fire and burned the entire house down. When people are electrocuted and thrown far distances, it is the result of sudden violent muscle contractions, not the shock itself. This has raised questions about the actual strength and subconscious capabilities of the muscles of the human body. Morbid Facts, Part 117. You can literally die from pooping too hard, and it's actually pretty common. Nearly all cases involve people with bad hearts, who just pushed a little too hard. One of the most notable people who died this way is Elvis Presley. Up until the 1950s, cigarettes were used to treat people with asthma along with other pulmonary conditions. 30 years ago, you had about 17 minutes to escape a house fire. Today, that's down to about 3 to 4 minutes due to many of the highly flammable synthetic materials used in furniture. After a mass shooting, you would expect complete silence at the scene of the crime. But police say one of the eeriest things is all of the phones that ring when family members are trying to find out if their loved ones are okay. Weird Movie Facts, Part 6. The train crash in The Fugitive was extremely dangerous and expensive to shoot because they crashed an actual train into an actual bus at full speed. Harrison Ford tore his ACL while filming the scene, and his limp throughout the rest of the movie was real. And the wreckage of the train is still sitting in the woods of North Carolina today. Stephen King famously hated the film version of The Shining, but when he saw Shawshank Redemption, he called it not just one of the best movies done for my work, but a potential movie classic. Danny DeVito not only starred in the movie Matilda, but also directed it. He also took care of the actress who played Matilda while her mother was in the hospital with cancer. He even got an advanced copy of the film for her mother to watch before she succumbed to her illness. Morbidly Wholesome, Part 5. On 9/11, a guide dog named Roselle led a group of people, including her blind owner, down 78 flights of stairs before the North Tower collapsed. She only stopped briefly at one point to give kisses to a woman who was having a panic attack. These two human skeletons were discovered in a bin during an excavation in Iran dating back to 800 BC. They died in what appears to be a loving embrace and have remained that way for 2,800 years. Researchers claim that both skeletons were males based on dental evidence. In 1907, a Mexican railroad worker named Jesus Garcia jumped onto a train loaded with dynamite after realizing that the train was on fire. Knowing that an explosion was inevitable, he reversed the train at full steam for 4 miles until he was clear of the town. Moments afterward, the dynamite exploded, killing Jesus but sparing the town. Morbid Facts, Part 118. In 1969, an astrologer warned John Lennon that he would be shot on an island. John was so disturbed by this that it caused him to cancel an upcoming yacht trip around the Greek islands. 11 years later, John Lennon would be shot and killed on the island of Manhattan. The day after Robin Williams died, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline received the highest number of calls in its history. It is estimated that there are still approximately 40 million slaves in the world today. About 70% of them are women, while 25% of them are children. The Bunker brothers were a pair of conjoined twins who made the term Siamese twins popular. They were a famous sideshow act in North Carolina until one day one of the brothers woke up to find that his twin had died. In a panic, he called for a doctor to perform an emergency separation, but it was already too late. He would die just 3 hours after his brother. Morbid Facts, Part 125. This is a photo of a rubber worker in the Belgian Congo staring at the severed hands and feet of his 5-year-old daughter. She was murdered because he failed to meet his quota for the day. Today, the photo serves as a stark reminder of the brutality that came with colonialism. If we held a minute of silence for every victim of the Holocaust, we would be silent for 11.5 years. This is a photo of 2 autistic boys strapped to a radiator in a mental hospital in 1982. While filming the eruption of Mount St. Helens in 1980, photographer Robert Landsberg realized he had no chance of surviving it. So he wound the film back, put his camera in his backpack, and laid on top of it to protect the film for future researchers. Weirdest Crime Facts, Parts 1 through 25. This photo is the definition of fear. An LA woman was evading a home intruder by hiding on her roof, and she managed to grab her phone and dial 911. She said that her greatest fear was that he would try to hide where she was hiding. Juan Catalan was put on death row and spent nearly 6 months in prison for the murder of a teenage girl. He was the prime suspect only until his lawyer came across some unused footage from Curb Your Enthusiasm. The footage proved that Catalan had been at a Dodgers game with his daughter at the time of the murder. Joe Arity was a mentally disabled 23-year-old man who was falsely executed for the rape and murder of a teenage girl in 1939. Joe was known as the happiest man on death row, for he likely didn't even know that he was being put to death. For his last meal, he requested ice cream and even saved some for after the execution. Morbid Facts, Part 119. Pablo Picasso used to carry around a revolver loaded with blanks, and when people asked him about the meaning of his paintings, he would pretend to shoot them in the face. In 2012, 66-year-old Stevie Crecelius went to the hospital thinking he had a kidney stone. During that visit, he would find out that he actually had a strange condition and had been a woman his whole life. Nicolas Cage has already bought his grave, and it's a 9-foot-tall pyramid in Louisiana. In 2005, a suicidal man in California parked his car in front of a commuter train. The train hit his car but derailed and collided with 2 additional trains. The accident resulted in 11 deaths and nearly 200 injuries, but the man survived and was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Weird War Facts, Part 21. In 1976, Princeton undergraduate John Aristotle Phillips wrote his thesis on how to build an atomic bomb. He ended up getting an A on the paper, but never got it back because it was seized by the FBI. During World War II, the London Zoo had to kill all of its venomous animals in case the zoo was bombed and the animals escaped. During that same war, Juliana the Great Dane was awarded the Blue Cross Medal after putting out a bomb by peeing on it. In 2008, a British Marine named Matthew Croucher flung himself back first onto a grenade to save his comrades. Though the explosion threw him into the air, the blast was absorbed by his rucksack. He was prepared to die but managed to walk away with nothing but a nosebleed and a headache. Morbidly Wholesome, Part 6. Alfred Nobel was known for his 300-plus patents, including dynamite. When Alfred's brother died in 1888, a local newspaper confused him with Alfred and wrote his obituary. It condemned Alfred for his invention of explosives and portrayed him as a horrible person. Alfred, still being alive, decided to leave a better legacy for himself. So in 1895, he set aside the bulk of his estate to establish the Nobel Prize. Knowing he couldn't swim, running back Joe Delaney died while attempting to save 3 children from drowning in 1983. In 1995, a Russian dog survived a car crash that his owners died in. Despite attempts to adopt him, the dog refused to leave the site of the accident. Rain or shine, he waited for them every day until dying 7 years later. The city informally adopted the dog and dedicated a statue to it called Loyalty. Morbid Facts, Part 120. Whiskey distiller Jack Daniel died after kicking his safe because he forgot his combination. He injured his big toe and it got infected, so he had to have his foot amputated. But the infection spread to the rest of his system and he died from complications. On 9/11, there was only one American in space. And this is the photo he took from the International Space Station. The first person to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge was a professional high diver. He wanted to demonstrate that people don't die simply from falling through the air, and he was correct. He fell 135 feet through the air without a problem, but hitting the water killed him immediately. Weird Crime Facts, Part 26. In 2008, police in Finland found a dead mosquito inside of a stolen car. So they tested the blood from the mosquito's last meal and used it to successfully identify the thief. In 1979, 16-year-old Brenda Spencer shot and killed the principal and a custodian at her school while injuring 9 others, including a policeman. When asked what her motive was for the shooting, she replied, "I don't like Mondays." This is a photo from 1999 of a divorcing couple splitting their Beanie Babies in front of a judge in court. Serial killer Edmund Kemper became friends with the very police officers that were investigating his murders. They called him Big Ed at the local bar and never would have suspected him in 1,000 years. When he initially confessed, they laughed at him because they thought he was pulling a prank. Morbid Facts, Part 121. Masabumi Hosono was the only Japanese passenger on the Titanic, and he managed to survive the sinking. But after returning to his home country, he was publicly condemned and lost his job for not going down with the other passengers. President JFK's brain has been missing from the National Archives for more than 50 years. Stanley Meyer was one of the first to invent a car that was completely powered by water. He claimed that it was capable of traveling across the country on just 72 liters of tap water, which would have revolutionized the auto industry and made gasoline obsolete. But shortly after creating the car, Stanley died while meeting with investors. His brother said he ran out of the restaurant choking, looked at him and said, "They've poisoned me." Morbidly Wholesome, Part 7. This is a photo of doctors bowing to an 11-year-old boy who died from an aneurysm. They are bowing because by donating his organs, the boy saved the lives of 4 other children. California officer Kevin Briggs has stopped more than 200 people from committing suicide on the Golden Gate Bridge. He is nicknamed the Guardian of the Golden Gate. This is a Vietnam War veteran fulfilling a promise to an old friend, keeping watch one last time. There's a biker group from Arizona who help keep victims of child abuse safe from their abusers while they're being prosecuted. The bikers guard the child's home at night if the abuser's not yet in jail. They also go to court with the child and shield them so that they don't have to look at their abuser. Weird Nature Facts, Part 25. Dolphins love interacting with pregnant women because they communicate using ultrasound. Not only can they hear the mother's heartbeat, but also the baby's, and they find this very fascinating. For more than 20 years, a dolphin named Pelorus Jack regularly guided ships through treacherous waters until his disappearance in 1912. A man from Argentina posted this photo of a giant mosquito called a galley nipper that his mother killed in her home. While its bite can be very painful, it's not nearly as dangerous as the smaller mosquito, which can transmit yellow fever and Zika virus. Naka Cave in Thailand closely resembles a giant petrified snake. The average silverback gorilla is 4 to 9 times stronger than the average human male. They can deadlift 1,800 pounds and their grip can crush the skull of a crocodile. Here are some wild facts that I bet you didn't learn in history class. The first known photograph of a person was taken in 1838. It only happened because a man and his shoe shiner were the only people still enough on a busy street to show up in the 10-minute exposure. In 1937, 2 women wore shorts out in public for the first time. They drew a massive amount of male attention and even caused a car accident. The Great Pyramid of Giza was the tallest building in the world for nearly 4,000 years until the Lincoln Cathedral was built in 1311. When trains were first introduced in the US, women were afraid to ride in them. This is because many people believed that women's bodies were not designed to go 50 miles an hour, and that their uteruses would fly out of their bodies if they were accelerated to that speed.